Hi, welcome to the video lesson, Sugar Trade DBQ, over a guided essay on what drove the sugar trade. Okay, first we have our introduction paragraph. Let's talk about how to organize the introduction. Alright, first you need your grabber. This is the attention getter, and it should only be one sentence. There's no need to write a paragraph and try and get the attention of your reader. All you need is one sentence. Next is the background information. One or two sentences here about the sugar trade, giving your reader a date, a place, or the situation. You need to give them a setting so they're familiar with what they're about to read. Next, restate the question and define drove. This is very important that you include the definition of drove when you restate the question. There's no need to write, and the definition of drove is. You don't need to do that. You could include it on, or at the end of your question when you restate the question, what drove the sugar trade, or what kept it going. Or you could put, what drove the sugar trade, or what fueled this industry. Both of those will work. Okay, your thesis and roadmap statement. In this particular DBQ, they're linked. The sugar trade became a global and huge industry because of the following three factors. And here's where you need to choose which three of the 6 analytical categories will be discussed in your essay. You can choose between land and climate, capital, consumer demand, complementary industries, slavery, or mercantilism and international power. 3 of these 6 will need to be discussed in your essay. And that's what goes right here for your thesis. You choose which 3 go here. Okay, body paragraph 1. Your first analytical category should be factor number 1 that's from your thesis. Okay, first thing you have is your topic sentence, and this is really structures the paragraph so the reader knows what this paragraph is about. So your factor, or your analytical category, goes here. And then you write, was one important factor that drove the sugar trade. And of course, as you go on to your other body paragraphs, you can reword how this is written so it's not the exact same 3 times, but this is just an example of a topic sentence. Next, you need to use evidence from the documents to support this answer. The documents you place into this category from your document analysis are the ones that are used in this paragraph individually. It's important that you use the documents individually and you do not group them together. Also, you must cite the documents and do not quote from the documents. Remember in class we talked about explaining what the document means as opposed to just telling me what's in the document or quoting from the document. That does not demonstrate an understanding. And lastly, the argument statement. And you need to come up with the reason that fits here. So again, your category or your factor that's discussed in this topic or in this paragraph that was written in this topic sentence should also come down here when you finish up this argument or this paragraph with your argument explaining why this answer drove the sugar trade. Okay? Because answers why. And so you have your topic sentence, you have your documents that are from this category to support your answer, and then you explain why this answer drove the sugar trade. You'll need to do the same thing for body paragraph 2. Okay, I can see a little bit here. Alright, it's structured the same way, and we've talked about this in class. You can change, for the second time, how you write your topic sentence. Another factor that drove the sugar trade was, and then blank, whichever one you write about. That's an example. They don't have to be the exact same. You can change it up a little bit. Different set of documents because you have a different category. And obviously a different reason because it's a different answer. Okay, different category, different answer, different factor, all the same. Okay. Body paragraph 3 is organized the same way as body paragraph 2 and body paragraph 1. Okay. Again, the topic sentence can be reworded as long as you have the answer explaining that it was a factor that drove the sugar trade. Doesn't matter what order it's in as long as the grammar is correct, and those are indicated in your sentence. You're going to use different documents to support this answer, and you must cite the documents and don't quote. Okay, and lastly, of course, you'll have to give a reason for this document as to why it drove the sugar trade. And that takes care of your body paragraphs. They're all structured the same way. Okay, the conclusion paragraph. Let's talk about how to organize the conclusion. First, restate the thesis. This provides a solid, coherent structure to your essay. Next, summarize the reasons for what drove the sugar trade. These are the key ideas of your thesis. Okay, and remember, you must cite the documents in the body paragraphs. I put that in there multiple times to remind you that you have to cite the documents. Okay, but getting back to this, these reasons for what drove the sugar trade, those are the key ideas of your thesis, right? That's what really gives your answers some power behind it. Lastly, understanding. It's necessary to explain why understanding what drove the sugar trade is important, and that's where you should put this here in the conclusion. Okay, answer, why might it be important to understand a historical example of international trade? And that's what the sugar trade was. It's a historical example of international trade. And it was the first global industry. It encompassed both the eastern and western hemispheres. Okay, so that's why we're, we study this and we're looking at this. And I'm giving you 2 examples of how to conclude your conclusion paragraph for this understanding section of the paragraph. The vast wealth amassed from the sugar trade sealed the fate of millions of Native Americans and Africans who were forced to work on sugar plantations. Okay, that explains why it's important to understand, right, this example of his international trade. And another example, descendants of enslaved Africans represent a significant portion of the Caribbean's population today. Another example of why it's important to understand the sugar trade example of international trade. Okay, so I told you it'd be about 10 or 15 minutes. Guess what? It's actually less than 10. I hope this was helpful. You can play this back over as many times as you need. Stop, play, or pause, play, to really help this sink in on how to write a DBQ essay in social studies. I hope that this was helpful, and I look forward to what you have to write.